right. So my name's Beth Guide. I'm with a company called Vertical Web. We rebranded SEO 411 because everybody under the age of 35 does not know what 411 is. I know that was like, okay, I've got to rename the company now. Who saw that coming? So we changed it to Vertical Web. We figured we make stuff go up. It makes sense. So that's how we kind of came up with that. With all of that said, I think AI, my passion is small business, and I know a lot of small business owners really have struggled with what they're supposed to be doing, how they're supposed to be doing it. You hear you can do this, you hear you can do that, you should sign up with Wix, you should do this, that, and 10 other things. Most of what you hear is wrong, okay? So that's why I've been doing this for so long, because I really try to be an advocate for small business to get you guys going in the right direction. Doesn't mean that eventually you won't be able to come and get somebody like me, but you all have to start somewhere and you have to know what you're doing. The other thing is when you have a company, are they doing the right things for you, or are you going to find out there's a layer of problems somewhere down the road? So that's why we do this. And AI has become, to me, it's really sort of problematic because most people don't know what they're doing with it, have made problems for themselves with it, and don't even understand how to unwind it. So I'm not down on it. I've been working with, how do you do it? What do you do with it? And what's the proper way? And that's kind of what I want to come and talk to you guys about today. I'm going to say this: Google does not like AI content. All right. So let's start there. So as you hear, I can go do this. Some people say, well, maybe Google. I'm here to tell you that unless you are making the internet a better place, Google does not want AI content. Does everybody understand where AI content comes from? Does anybody? Okay, so we don't even know where it comes from. So I write a page. The AI machines go get that page. You write a page on the same subject. AI machines go get that content. And they basically mash it together and give an answer and say, hey, these are what we see on the internet providing the answer. So there's no original thought in AI, okay? The original thought exists in the piece of content that it took it from. So if I was a small business owner, I would want to be the person they took the idea from, not the regurgitator of that idea. So does everybody understand that, the premise of that? So I'm going to ask a really important question. And I love the way people answer this question, because who here is an expert in their subject matter? Okay. Let me ask again. All right, let's try this again. No, go ahead. No, who here is an expert on their subject matter?
Right answer.
Every person in the room should have your hand up. So I'm going to try the third time because I still don't see you catching on. Who here is an expert on their subject matter? All right, we're finally, okay. That is the starting spot for this. You have to understand, every one of you started a business, and I mean, I know some of you work for somebody, okay, but every one of you that started a business or run a business or work at a business, you went there because you have a skill set, or you know how to do something different or bring something different into the marketplace, okay? And when you know how to do something different, that is where you become your expertness, which is probably a made-up word, helps propel you for the AI content, okay? So you want your content to be the original. Now, there's ways to do this, to be able to use those tools to help guide you and help your expert thought get to where, and that's kind of where I'm heading on all of this today, okay? Because I use this tool to help say, oh, wait, maybe I didn't think of this, or, oh, wait, maybe I didn't think of that, or, oh, I should include this. That's what we should be. So the other thing I'll do is sometimes I use it as an idea generator. Okay, so what do I need to talk about? So if you heard me speak about it a year ago or 2 years ago, I would tell you that your email box is your best content generation source, because people that ask you questions, they want to know those answers. If you can formulate those answers into well thought out paragraphs with your spin and your touch, then you have a winning combination. But I understand, and I've heard it for years, well, I'm not a writer. I can't write. I don't know how to do. Okay, look, nobody's looking for you to be Hemingway, but on the other side of the coin, we've got to figure out how to package you up and get you to where you can put this stuff up. So before I even tell you how to, why do you want to? the internet itself is really an information machine. Okay. I know we can talk about how do we get sales and how, but people do business with people who they like. So the objective is to make people like you in a medium that is kind of flat on some level. Okay. I do a lot of videos now. I never did videos before. Videos are part of this too, because I'm going to tell you how to process this and how to, I'm kind of trying to give you hacks. I got to watch the time here, so I may just go really fast and we'll figure it out later. But um, so the first thing you need to do is you need to understand the tools to use. And I will tell you, ChatGPT is what you all hear about. I'm also going to recommend Claude AI, which it's like 20 bucks a month, but I think it gives better information and it gives non-Google answers at times. And what I mean is Google has kind of shifted its focus and how I think sometimes I think they don't give the best results anymore. Okay. So with that said, Claude is given better results, better answers. So when you ask it to scrub and look and help you find things. So the one thing that I do on a regular basis is I say, help me choose the best keyword for my industry. And I'll put it in and it'll come back and it'll give me, who's the homeowner guy? One of you guys are a homeowner guy, you. All right. So I was working, somebody was asking me about a homeowner management company. So I came up with and I asked it to give me some of the best keywords for a homeowners management company. I had to change the prompt because when I asked it, it gave me questions not as if I was going to do business with a management company. Everybody have a homeowners association. We know what I'm talking about. That's like a nice agnostic topic. Okay. All right. We all hate them. I'm actually on the board of one. I get it. All right. And I'm there to kind of be the anti-homeowners association homeowners board member. So I'm like, no, we're not closing on that person's house. It's all good. Anyway, but with that said, so I asked it to give me what some of the best keywords were the first run I took at it, it gave me not board members that were going to hire homeowners. And it gave me what is the definition of a management company. So I actually had to go in and refine it and say, give me the keywords for somebody looking to hire. So be specific in your ask. Now, why do you need keywords? Well, because these are the thoughts that Google has and helps guide where you're going. So if you don't put a keyword in your page, Google doesn't know what your page is about. So that's kind of like this little brick that if you don't put it in the page, it's not there. So that would be my first thing. So once I have my keywords, I'm going to then come back out and I'm going to ask it, what are the blog topics for that? And I'm going to match the keyword list with the blog topics. So now I have a list of topics. So I don't want anybody ever that comes to a class again say to me, well, I don't know what to write about. Because there's a whole thing here. It's like a magic 8-ball. You shake it and it gives you, does everybody know what a magic 8-ball is? Or okay, all right, good. Because you don't know what 411 is. Maybe you don't know what an 8-ball is. I got to say those things may run congruent, but looking out there, I think we're okay. All right. So I then take those keywords, match them into the searches. So you've now come up with what is my topic? What are my keywords? All right. And it gives me a nice little list of them and it tells me what they should do. And I had to actually go back and refine the search again. I'm going to go back up to the top. All right. So it says understanding what a reserve study is. Well, that may or may not be appropriate for a board member. It kind of is appropriate, but understanding communication tools to improve resident engagement in your community. These are more about the management company themselves. It's not something that a board member is going to look for when they're trying to find a new company. So I have to kind of say, how do I want to put that out there and put forth? Because again, knowing your audience is just as important. I could talk all day about the mechanics of SEO, but that doesn't help small business owners because I can talk to you about mechanics, but it'd be like me talking to you about how to put brakes on a car. I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to go to a mechanic. My query is going to be, how do I find a mechanic? Not how do I put brakes on my car 9 times out of 10. Okay. So one is transactional, one is informational. So you got to live in the transactional, like somebody's going to do business with you and think like your customers. All right. So what we're going to find is AI is only as good as the information you put into it too. So if you get a wrong answer, first of all, evaluate the answer. Second of all, once you evaluate the answer, figure out where you kind of asked it wrong, and then it'll refine that answer and give you a better result. Okay. The other thing is I want to explain something really quickly. you know, when you go on the internet and you go to Reliant Energy or I don't know, and they all these little chat boxes in the bottom, right? You ask it a question and it answers you. And then it'll say, is this the right answer? And you'll ask it another question. The answers are predicated on what's appearing in that chat. So if I take this homeowners thing now and I start asking it about sneakers, it's going to be all confused. And it's going to tell me about management companies that sell sneakers, which we know is not, you don't sell sneakers, right? Okay, just checking. Okay. It's going to give me the wrong answer. So understand, one is layered on top of the other. So as you refine it, you can stay in it and it's going to help refine your answer. And the answer is going to be predicated on the previous answer. So if you keep getting wrong answers, you might want to back out and start a new chat window because you've now caused it to run amok. Because again, this is AI. Arnold Schwarzenegger has not taken over yet. So the machines are not smarter than us. So we need to go ahead and put those things together and make sure that we understand. So if I'm asking it questions, it gets to a spot where it's not working right. It's because somewhere in the above, it's still predicating it on the answers above. So back out, start over. Okay, so that's another little tip, if you will, on how to utilize this, right? Go ahead.
Have you heard people saying that in order to develop a proper prompt, they're going to Google and asking Google to tell it a prompt? Have you heard this?
Yeah, but I don't know that I actually, that's a whole class unto itself.
Oh.
Okay. Well, and I'll tell you why, because Google's whole language models on the internet. So if I wanted to find out what Google thinks, I wouldn't go to Google itself and type it in Google. I would go to their language model and get it out of that. So that's its own class all unto itself. But I mean, the prompts what we're writing is ask me, give me keywords, write me a sales letter in a friendly way. Sometimes I'll put, I'm from New Jersey. I put a New Jersey twist on my sales letter because, you can't take my personality out. It would be a very boring world if I did that. So, I mean, you can do these kind of things and you can ask it, but for this purpose, where ultimately what I don't want you to do is go and say, write this blog post for me and you take it and put it on the website. That's ultimately what I do not want you to do. Because if you do that, you're taking somebody else's information, you're taking somebody else's ideas, and you are not making the internet a better place. Okay. So we all should know Dudley Do Right. The little guy used to ride his horse. He always did the right thing. Google is looking for websites that are Dudley Do Rights, that they make the internet a better place. They add new information into the discussion. They're always looking for freshness and fresh ideas, which you may say for you, I'm going to use management companies. I'm really familiar with them because I've been on a homeowners board for 10 years. Okay. All right. There's only so many different ways you can package your research study, right? But I think when you counsel your customers and you explain to them what they need to do and how they need to approach that, that's what makes you unique. So utilize those ideas. I know somebody else could walk in this room and say, that lady doesn't know what she's talking about. Because there's so many opinions out there. I'm sure you could probably see that in your own business. You said your wellness. Yes, right. Okay. So in the wellness industry, somebody might say use a certain supplement, and then somebody else would say dandelions don't work for that. Right? You agree with that? But you may say dandelion's the best way to fix this problem. Correct? Okay. So you see how I think every one of you can have that ebb and flow as to what makes you unique, what makes your subject matter, what your approach is. So I don't ever care if somebody tells me I'm not right. I laugh at them and tell them, see you on the other side. Okay. So, and that should be your attitude with this is even though they say something that you don't agree with, that's what makes you unique. And I can't really enforce that uniqueness enough. Now, if you want to use this to write a business letter, I'm fine with that. I don't care. And if you think it represents you well, that's okay. If you want to use it to write an email with it. I don't care because it's not going to long-term impact you. But please do not use this to write the blog post and stick it on the internet. The other thing we're not going to do is I don't want you to go and think, Okay, again, you're all older. We all went to the library and got an encyclopedia and wrote a paper on Antarctica at some point in our life, or the Germany, and we literally rewrote the Encyclopedia Britannica, right? Okay, everybody kind of understands that, except everybody, oh, you don't, maybe you're too young to understand. I don't know. Yeah, okay, all right. So, but my point is that that is not this exercise. So what you need to do is you need to read it, take it in, say, I agree with it, I don't agree with it, and then put your own spin on it, which is different than, the Titanic sunk in 1914 when it hit an iceberg because the guy didn't see it. I mean, we've got to be very careful in what we go ahead and write. And, this is not a plagiarism thing. This is read it, take it in, figure out how to make it your own, figure out what you do differently when you say these things. And when you do that, you have a winning combination. Okay. I actually, and I'll probably be putting this up in the next week. I did a video on actually how to take this content and then refine it and put it the way Google wants it. I actually did a 2-hour class on it. That's just why I said to you, that's a whole class unto itself. Okay. They'll be on the website. You can go watch a whole video on what to do with this afterwards. Okay. And to check it and to paraphrase it all. But what I want you guys to work with is, so I know a keyword. I know a blog post. Okay. I've now put that on after I have rewritten it to have my own thoughts and my own ideas and didn't just borrow them from somebody else. I've now taken it and put it on my website. That is the proper procedure to supplement and utilize AI in a way that is non-destructive. Because frankly, if you put enough AI content on your website, what's going to end up happening is they're going to, I'm trying to put them in terms that you understand, but they're basically going to demote that content. They're going to think it's low end content, and they're not, they'll never see the light of day. So you're better off to do nothing than to do this wrong. All right. I mentioned Wix. I'm going to mention WordPress. All of them now have AI features within them. Okay. First of all, I'm not a proponent of using Wix, Weebly, Web, Squarespace, or any of those tools if you want to have success from a Google standpoint, because there's a whole lot of reasons, but the platform matters. Anything that's drag drop like that, I would be running away from. Okay. But with that said, they also have even a WordPress. I can go to WordPress. I can hit a button. I can put a few prompts in, put a paragraph about my business. I hit a button and bammo, I have a website. In probably 5 minutes, I can have a website if I really wanted to. But the thing is that, again, there's nothing unique. There's no reason to do business with you. There's nothing provocative on it to have somebody interact with you. So these shortcuts are really not shortcuts. They literally are just ways to put something up, and it's basically a dead end. So I really would caution about proceeding down any type of road that's just generating something for you, sticking it out there, and you don't touch it. Okay. Now I'm going to say when we can do that. Okay. Because there's a whole nother way to do this. Anybody do videos? I know Sherman does. Anybody else besides Sherman? Yay, I do them. I hate doing them, just so we know. But I've gotten to the point where, and if you notice, my little Zoom box is in the bottom of that screen there, is that I just turn Zoom on and just let it capture whatever the heck's going on. All right. When you do that, and when you talk like that, and if you can get past the fact that you're not talking to somebody, okay, that was probably one of the hardest things. So let's kind of roll back just for a second. When we hit COVID and we had to start doing Zoom, for me, it removed that barrier from talking to a computer. I'm like, okay, now I'm talking to a computer 8 hours a day, every day. There's these people that may or may not be there. It may actually just be an AI image of them on the screen. I don't know. All right. So it was a very, so now I've just gotten to the point that I'm just going to say what I'm going to say, whether there's a bunch of people out there or not a bunch of people out there, I'm just going to say it. If you can get to that point, they sell a tripod on Amazon for 25, 30 bucks. And you can set it on your desk. You can put your cell phone in it and you too can make videos. We don't need a production company. We don't need a background company. We don't need a special skill set. We just need a cell phone and know how to turn on and off the video, which I understand not maybe everybody doesn't know that they have a video camera on their phone. I get that. There may be one of yous out there, but overall, it's a good tool. So you set it up and you pick your topic. So what I might be inclined to do, all right, and this would be for, I'm going to use you again, is explain the apparatus of a reserve study and why you need a management company that understands what to do with it, how to make the right recommendations, and how to manage the funds that are attached to those reserve studies in a way that makes sense. Okay. And talk, just take your video camera out and put it on your desk and talk to it and talk through this. All right. Why I'm telling him to do that is because basically what I'm going to do is reverse engineer the system. Okay. So I'm taking that video now. I've talked to it and I'm talking to it in my expertist way, right? Because you've picked the topic and that's what you're talking on, whether you're talking to a room of people, whether you're doing a sales presentation, I would imagine some of that would all be the same, right? Okay. Once I have that, I then get a transcript. Okay. Zoom will give me a transcript almost immediately. YouTube gives me a transcript. Otter will give me a transcript. Notice I didn't say Claude will give me a transcript. I'm just, these things auto-generate these transcripts. Once I have the transcripts, I can then go take the transcript. I can go take the transcript and stick it into an AI engine and tell it summarize that video. So why did I do that? What happens when I have AI summarize a video of me giving a lecture? That's one thing. She said it puts my twist on it because I'm answering the question. So top 5 communication tools for, well, how we talk to residents or whatever your topic is, whatever you've now gleaned out of this. Okay. Open it up 20 minutes. I take it. I have the transcript. I stick the transcript in and it gives me a summary. That summary now can be utilized as a basis for a blog post. What did I tell you initially? I told you I was looking for unique ideas. The sheer fact that you're speaking this off the top of your head, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to say that because you may not utilize that video. I'm going to advocate actually putting the video inside the blog post to help user engagement and help the stickiness for them to stay on the page because, all right, I'm watching my clock. There's 3 types of learners out there, 3 types of users, okay? And most of them are generational. So us older people, we like to read. I'm not going to invest a 10-minute video to get to the end and it say, go watch my next TikTok video. That annoys the heck out of me. You have wasted minutes of my life that I can't get back. All right, notice everybody who's laughing, okay? All right, so that's the first set. There's a second group that all they want to do is listen. So they're the podcast people, right? All right. So you can then take that audio from that video that you made and you can make it into a podcast and you could have the weekly homeowners update on, why I would call it why not to hate your HOA and then do it that way. I would call that would be the podcast I would put together for a podcast company. All right. But I would do that with it. And then I would take those videos and I'd stick them on YouTube. Okay. So I would take the video that I made and I would utilize it and multi-purpose it in 3 different ways because there's 3 different types of learners and I would put all 3 of those on the page together. I'd put the video, the written page, and the audio all together, let the user pick how they want to engage in it. That would be me. But if you don't feel comfortable, you can't do what I'm doing, which is basically talking to you off the cuff in salient sentences without going, I'm not doing that. If you can't do that and you're uncomfortable, then don't worry about that. Utilize it for what I'm saying to do with it, which is to make and write the premise and the foundation of that blog post for yourself. Okay. So now that I've done that, who has a problem talking? Does anybody have a problem talking? Who has a problem writing? Okay, so by talking, what I've done is I've circumvented the writing problem, haven't I? All right, so all you business owners that tell me you can't write, I'm solving your problem because it's not a thing anymore. Because I can talk to my cell phone, I can upload that video, I can get that transcript, and oh, by the way, I then can take it and have it summarize it for me. So, all right, so let's go ahead and do this. Let's look over here.
You have a question over here, Beth.
Very quick, is Otter your preferred method to get that transcription? Otter is Otter.
No. Actually, what I've been doing with mine is I actually use YouTube to get the transcription because who owns YouTube? Google. So I actually let them do, I use their transcript. I don't use, you can use Otter if you want. You actually could turn Otter on while you're talking if you wanted and just talk and Otter would do it. But Otter's more going to, all right, so Otter's a tool that you can use if you don't know what it does. It's the most awesome thing. It makes you a bulleted checklist of anything you did of action items. So you don't have to go back through your notes and say, what did I tell this person I was going to do? And then you can ask it questions and say, what did I tell this person I was going to do? And it'll give it to you. All right. I don't think I would, if I was going to do it, I take the transcript out of YouTube and I run it through Claude is where I do it and tell it to summarize it because it does, to me, it does a better job. Okay. You can do it through, and I'll do it, to truth be told, I sometimes don't like what Otter does. So then I throw it into ChatGPT and merge the two. Okay. But if I ask it for a summary, I now have a set of bullet points that I can either choose to write off, or then I can say to it, hey, write me a blog post based on this summary. You notice I didn't go from write me a blog post based on this transcript. I had it summarize the transcript first, then I'm going, because what it also does is it makes it easier for me to go through it because you cannot, again, do not publish something out of AI directly to your website without going through it. I cannot stress that enough. And I'll give you an example of something. I'm putting up a page on my site that says how to hire a webmaster because I'm tired of you guys asking me. So now I'm just going to give everybody a web address and say, here, go look at it. And it's a 5,000 plus word post with probably, I think there's probably 7 to 10 videos that are attached on this thing. Okay. I put it in, I wrote it all up. I actually wrote it first and got what I thought should be said. I then ran it through a chat program and they said, hey, maybe you want to add this, maybe you want to add this. I then went to Google and put it through Google's chat learning management system and said, Google said, hey, you did a great job, but we think you should talk more about website platforms. Okay. And they rewrote the paragraph that talked about website platforms to say that I should include why people should want to use Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, Shopify. There's no earth that I will ever say use Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, or Shopify. You will never hear that out of my mouth. So I literally had to go back. Had I used it the way it presented it, it gave a fundamental difference with the way I approach this versus the way just an agnostic place would put. So you have to really watch yourself. It took it about 3 times before it literally changed the whole essence of the page. I want this for small business owners to have a resource and a checklist that says, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, you should look here, you should go here. This is how I interpret this data. This is how you should. So you make educated decisions. Although it's the best thing in the world when you have a website, for me, that you have a website that ranked really well and then you hired a bad webmaster and they blew it up because then I have to fix it. It's the best part of my business. I love doing that most of all because there's a challenge to it. But on the other side of the coin, as a business owner, you can't take a website that's generating a large percentage of your revenue, put it in somebody's hands, then blow it up. And now all of a sudden you go from 25,000 users a month down to 1,000. And I literally have that case scenario sitting on my desk right now. So with that said, I went and I put this guide together. But if I let AI take it over, AI was gonna do it in a way that fundamentally I did not agree with. So I was like, nope, we're not doing that. I went and fixed it all. And how I did it, it said, although places like Google say using Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, and Shopify are okay for their platform, it depends on what your goals are. If your goals are aggressive to be number one on Google, please don't go use those because it's not going to happen. So I actually took theirs, put a twist on it, and justified why I think their AI engine is wrong. So if they wanted to pick that up, they can pick it up. I have no problem telling Google they're wrong. Okay. In fact, I have no problem telling anybody they're wrong. So it's all good. All right. So with that said, so now I'm going to go into the predicate that maybe you did what I said and utilized those videos and you kind of got over the stage fright and can freely speak on something. Once I have those videos, I then take another AI tool, and this is how I replicate them. So there's a thing out there that's called Opus. And Opus, what it'll do is take those videos and chop it into TikTok size videos. So now I don't want you hear you guys telling me I don't know how to make TikTok videos anymore, because what I did is you're going to give your speech on a reserve study. You've taken it, you made it, it's 20 minutes. Let's say, can you talk 20 minutes on a reserve study? I think you can, because it's a ginormous pain in the neck. All right. So I talked 20 minutes on a reserve study. And then what this nice little tool will do is it chops it up. So those of you know that know, I have my internet marketing clinic that I've been doing for a really long time. And what I do is I take them, I put them in this tool, and it goes through and it chops it up and it makes it for social media. Okay.
Cuts it down and.
It takes it, it puts the breaks in. Sometimes I have to edit it to or from because it jumps in the middle of it and it doesn't break it exactly right. But it takes a subject matter piece, breaks it into pieces for me, and then I don't have to do anything other than hit this nice little button here that says schedule. And it asks me where I want to schedule it and when I want to schedule it. And it goes out to TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, X. Thinking where else do I have it going out to? LinkedIn. I have it going LinkedIn Personal and LinkedIn Pro. I literally have my social media now sort of on cruise control because I take the 2-hour class that, see, I'm fortunate in the sense that I have these 2-hour classes that I can run through here. And one of the problems we were having was how was I getting the summary or the blog post that went along with these classes? I've never put just the class up without something. And I've always tried to make them be relevant to what Google wants. So how am I going to get 1,000 words without forcing somebody to watch a 2-hour video of whatever I'm babbling about on the day? So now that I have this tool that I can have it write me the summary, help me write the blog post, and then I just have to refine it with, okay, I have my original content. So you're all following me, right? I have the original content because it came out of my brain and out of my mouth, and I'm not reading from anything. I've now got my blog post because my thoughts are original. The blog post refined it. I just have to fix it up and make sure it's not saying anything I don't agree with. That video now becomes my social media share. Oh, and by the way, did I mention that it'll write the prompts for you and put the hashtags in for you? So it'll do everything for you and literally with one click of a button. Oh, it does let you proofread them too to make sure it doesn't say, you know, I hate Wix, because I'll get sued if I say I hate Wix. It is my opinion that Wix does not meet small business owner needs. By the way, I'm saying that way now so that when I put this video on, they don't say Beth Guide said you hate Wix. I don't hate Wix. I just don't think it helps, in my opinion, legal. That, all right? Okay. So I read my prompts, make sure it doesn't say anything, but I literally on a Saturday now can take one of these, something that used to take me 3 and 4 hours to put together, assemble, and get that blog post up. I can literally do this under an hour now and have all my social media posts done for a month like that by utilizing this. So it makes y'all's life easier if you can just get over the fact that you have to talk to your cell phone, because I think that's going to be the next thing. Well, I don't talk good. Okay, well, look, first of all, do I talk good? I sound like I just walked out of Brooklyn. Okay, so I'm in the South. Do I sound good? I don't know. I'm not gonna, well, you're okay with it. You've been around. Yeah, it's just you and I though. The rest of everybody, I don't know. But I guess what I'm saying to you is, people are not judgmental of how, in fact, the more polished you are, the less, I think, the less likely they are to like you. All right. The fact that you're authentic, I don't think if none of you walk away with anything else, you're gonna say that lady that talked this morning is an authentic person and she's gonna just tell me like it is. All right. I think that's a fair statement. I've heard it enough through the years. All right. I don't care that I sound like Brooklyn. I don't care that I'm overweight. I stopped coloring my hair because I don't really care that, I mean, I've been doing this 28 years. I might as well be proud about it. Okay. That's how I'm approaching it. And you know what? It's working like a champ because my authenticity comes through to the people on the other side of the screen. Okay. The fact that I am an expert and I pretty much dare anybody to come and have that conversation with me and try to say I'm not, or I don't know what I'm talking about, have at it. We'll have a different discussion. All right. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the pushback. I'm okay because I'm advocating for small business. When I do this, although I'm representing my company, I'm always advocating for a small business owner. Okay. I'm not a big corporation. I don't have super deep pockets. My agenda is to make people successful. All right. And that's all I want. And I know I'll walk away. I've seen you through the years. I've known Sherman through the years. I'll walk away and I may never see. I think it's probably been 7 or 8 years since I ran it. I think you came from SBDC is where I met you, right? Okay. Talk about a memory. Okay. All right. So I think where I'm saying is I'll walk out of here and I'll probably never see half of you for another 7 years at least. I don't know. It's been years for you, Sherman, too. All right. And that's okay because the thing is, I'm out there. The videos are out there. The tools are out there. If you don't want to hire somebody, that's okay. At least you know somebody that's going to give you a straight shot on what your agency should be doing. If they're not doing it, it gives you the ability to make questions about it, which is ultimately why else I've done this. The small business owner, I want them to succeed. The people that have agencies, I think we work very hard for our money, and that money needs to be really well spent. And I don't think that a lot of people understand whether their agency is spending their money well. All right. The reason I'm saying this is because you guys can go and do the same thing. Highlight your competitors. Don't call them by name because I don't want you to get sued. And then you come back and say, Beth, you told me to make a video and I said this guy sucks. And now they're suing me. Don't call it out by name, but call what you don't like. Call the problems that you see. I have a concrete company, and he tells me most of the people don't put limestone when this goes back to the homeowners association again. But when they put in concrete, a lot of people take shortcut and don't put the limestone in underneath it. If you don't put limestone under concrete, the concrete cracks. Well, that's something he needs to tell people. That's why his company is different because he's not just putting it down and hoping it cracks in 2 years and you're coming back for another cement job, a concrete job. Okay. So these are the things that you need to point out. There's no problem. If I start asking you about tutoring programs and then we talked about, Kumon, I mean, I'm sure you could tell me something about Kumon versus what you do, right? Okay. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff. And you've got large HOA companies that you're up against. You're in a sea of corporate owned price per letter. The fact that they send letters for trash cans the day that the garbage is picked up because it's a money-making operation because they get to, so the bigger companies send lots of letters because they get lots of payments and kickbacks. All right. So if you don't espouse to do that, that would be something that you could talk about is the cost of a letter and what is the impact on a homeowner. All right. That was something that I got rid of. I said, stop sending them trash can letters. You send them on Tuesday. The garbage comes on Tuesday. Of course, these people are at work. They didn't put their garbage can away. All right. We don't live in a retirement community. All right. So, I mean, but it's the truth. Don't send them letters. So I told them stop the letters because we were getting, our bill was going up with homeowners with the management company, which meant that cost had to be passed back to the homeowner. So we cut that out and we were able to keep the rates flat. So there's, that's a discussion that you can have. And if somebody's like-minded to me, that's it. Go ahead. .org. .com's in the same pile as Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, and Shopify. I need to come up with like an acronym for that so we can just call it that and I can stop calling them out all the time. All right. But it's WordPress.org. The other thing is from a consumer advocate standpoint, just setting this piece aside. WordPress.org, you have a choice of where it goes, how it's updated, what server you put it on, how much horsepower it has, how it functions. The other ones, you do not have a choice. You can only pick from what they have. If they put you on a server that's overloaded, you can call tech support every day and talk to them about why your website's slow. And they're going to tell you, I'm sorry, it's fast. It's fast here. We don't know what your problem is. You must have bad internet at your house. That's not a thing. Okay. So it's an excuse. I mean, there's ways to test it. Let me just say that. But I think the thing is you have a lot less control. Google aside, I think you should always be in a situation where you are in control of your assets for your business. And this is a true story. Okay. I used to come to these classes and I would say, well, if you go on a platform and tomorrow they decide that they're going to sell sneakers, what are you going to do with your website? Well, I have this guy that has been coming to this class was coming for years. And he had a platform-based website through a company that was like an older provider, and I can't remember the name of them. Well, don't you know, they said they called him one day and they said, okay, you got to get your stuff moved. You got a week to do it because we're going to go in a different direction and sell a different product with our platform. Square is a good example of that. Everybody that uses Squarespace, that's it's a loss leader to get merchant accounts out of you guys, right? So if they ever decide that they're not getting merchant accounts for Square and they decide that they want to sell pizza boxes, you guys are SOL. All right. So, and I don't think people realize that. You have to know who you're doing business with, right? So you guys all think I'm going to Squarespace. They're a merchant account provider. They are not a web hosting company. Okay. And they came up with this idea to get these merchant accounts in. They get them, they make it easy, they put tools, and right now it's all going great. But the next time Jack Dorsey decides to sell to Elon Musk, you may have a different conversation because Jack Dorsey owns Square. Jack Dorsey owned Twitter, for those of you who don't understand the reference, because you're all looking at me like, why I'm talking about Elon Musk. All right. But and I'm not saying that's happening tomorrow, but you have to, when you don't have control over something, if I'm in WordPress.org, I have the files, I have the file system, I have people out there that can do updates, that can help me if something goes wrong. And if WordPress tomorrow decides that they're going to sell cheese boards and they're not going to make software anymore, you have the code base. You just have to get a programmer to work with you to fix it. So you're way more autonomous with those type situations than you ever would be inside a platform that you don't own. And one more little anecdote. We all used to use a platform called Blogger way back in the day. I didn't, but a lot of people did. Google came in, bought it, and they said, we're not making any changes to it. 3 years later, they said, you know what? We're going to make a change. Anybody that's using Blogger, that content now belongs to us. And they took everybody's content and put a copyright on it and took it away from everybody. And then they said, if you're using it, what we're going to do is if you still want to use it to publish to an outside website, we're not going to let you do that. So you have, a month to get all your blog posts off our platform so these things happen. Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think about the builders on top of WordPress like Elementor?
I'm fine with Elementor. I'm fine with WP Bakery. Beaver Builder is okay. Elementor probably does the best job, and you can bail out of it if you need to. I can put another builder in. Let's say Elementor goes out of business and I have no more Elementor. Well, I can go convert it over to WP Bakery and just recycle the code and pull it back in. Yeah. So I have options. So I'm okay with those things. I mean, if you use them, we use Elementor. I'm not gonna pull punches on that one. But if you use them right, the other thing you don't want to do is bloat them out, of course, because you don't want to slow them down. But you have options as long as that code base, Elementor works on the .org version. You have options to walk away. And that's all, your hosting company, if you want to walk away from your hosting company, if you want to walk away from your web design company, you sure don't want, or you don't want them telling you, you can't do that because, well, and these are all true stories. After 28 years, the stuff I've heard would make your head explode. Okay. All right. But hey, I want to go. Well, that's under our Wix account. We can't give you that account. Sorry. We can give you a copy of your files, or we can give you the graphics and some screen captures, but you're on your own. And that happens every day in this industry. I used to say the Better Business Bureau has the most amount of complaints of washing machine repairmen, auto mechanics, and web designers. All right, because they're like the worst bunch of people, because I don't think that everybody understands the challenges. I don't think some of them do it on purpose. I do think some of them do it on purpose, but I think some of them, they just don't even know what they don't know. And I think that's the problem. The one on my desk now, I know the guy that imploded this website. I had a conversation with him before he imploded it. And I told him, you're over your head on this one. This is not one you want to touch. You're over your head. I had a big fight with him up Beltway 8, like very loud Italian kind of screaming fight. On my way up to Beltway 8, a year and a half later, I have a website that went from 25, 30,000 users a month. It's at 1,000 users right now. And he basically almost put this guy out of business. And he said to the customer on the way out the door, he said, Beth was right. She really did know that we weren't prepared to handle this. But his own hubris, he didn't see it because he didn't know everything that was under the hood and doesn't have the tool set to fix it. So I don't think everybody's malicious, but I think you've got half malicious and half ignorant, for lack of a better way. Or so there's a very finite amount of people that actually really do know what's going on out there. So is there any other questions? It's 9:30. I could talk on this subject for another 3 hours. So go ahead.
So I'm 7 months in as a new business owner,
Okay,
and I use Wix as my.
good. It's a good time to go to wordpress.org.
Am I able to do that though? Because
Yes,
said
you
that-
got to cut and paste it out. So Weebly you can export, Wix you cannot export. All right, so if you're only 7 months in, my guess is you only have 7 pages, huh? You don't have a
I've
lot
got
of.
one.
Oh, okay, even better. Yeah, it'll take you a couple hours to just move it into wordpress.org.
Okay.
All right. Like if I had to do it, I have like 800 or 900 pages, so I would be there a minute. Okay. So, but yeah, it's easy to just go to get a wordpress.org. You'll need a web host. You'll need, you'll
I
need
have a
somebody to,
domain now, so-
you have a domain. The domain can come with you. That's the other thing. Make sure you know who owns your domain. That's another problem area that I see a lot of. Yes.
In terms of the length of the video, so for example, you said, you charge, what's the chunks of the video, like, does it predetermine how long the video is, or we get to decide? How long?
On Opus?
Yeah,
Opus will pick the segments on where the natural pauses are. So it goes through with AI and says, we think this is a video. So I sometimes I have to go to it, and because I may have thought, like I'll stop and I'll think sometimes. Somebody will ask me a question. Well, they cut the question off because my natural pause makes them think that it's a new topic. So I just have to go. There's little slider bars, and you can slide to the left or the right and expand the video. All right. So I sometimes have to adjust what it has. The other thing is sometimes it gives me 30 seconds. Sometimes it gives me 5 minutes. All right. So it is deciding based on the length of the answer or the paragraph or the subject that I'm talking about, how long something should be.
is there an optimum time for a video? I make 1 minute video, and my son thinks that they're too long.
Okay. That's because your son is under the age of 30, I had to guess.
So I'm also juggling between
All right. Who is your customer, your son or their parents?
parents.
Well, there you go. That's your answer.
Okay, so
Okay.
what we're gonna do right now, Beth is gonna be here and we can continue. I know some.
Yeah, we can answer questions.
Beth always hangs out. One of the things I remember as an SBDC consultant, I,
That's a wrap for this week's Internet Marketing Clinic. We'll see you next week. Thank you.